Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla. It has been a really bad week for GM. This week will probably go down in the history books as when it all started crumbling down for GM again. It was only 15 years ago that the US government had to bail them out, and this week does not increase my confidence in GM's survival on their own. Because we had so many things that went sideways this week for GM. So let's check it all out and let's dive right in. So let's start by looking at some of all the claims that GM and Mary Barra has done through the years and some of all the mistakes they have made. Like Mary, who thought they had 14 years to make a switch to EVs because they had set their target for 100% EVs by 2035. Like she said in 2022, we have 14 years.
How do you do that?
Well, we've got 14 years.
Yes, that is what your target is, but it all comes down to what the customers want. And we see that the EVs are rising fast. And if this continues, it will be all over long before 2035. Remember, in Norway, both Volkswagen and Hyundai no longer sells ICE vehicles, as the market is almost completely gone, and the rest of Scandinavia will follow soon, probably in the next 3 years, and most of Europe probably within the next 6 years. So then you will not be able to sell ICE cars in Europe by maybe 2029, because ICE cars lose their economy of scale. I don't think Volkswagen thought back in 2015 they would already be stopping ICE sales in Norway by 2023. But here we are. So just because GM has made a plan for stopping ICE sales production by 2035 does not mean there is a profitable ICE market left by 2030. But GM also said they would build 1 million EVs just in North America and would absolutely beat Tesla as the biggest EV manufacturer in North America by 2025.
Do you think that you can catch Tesla by 2025?
Absolutely, Phil.
But that is all coming crumbling down as well. What a surprise. And GM also scrapped their partnership with Honda this week that was to build these affordable EVs just after they have agreed to work together in a $5 billion effort to try to beat Tesla in sales. And that was supposed to be starting production in 2027, so now that will probably not happen this decade, if at all. And the Silverado EV and the Equinox EV and the Denali EV should all have been started production and deliveries now, but that has all been pushed out and delayed as well. So now we will probably not see many of these vehicles before maybe by the end of 2025. So GM didn't bring, as promised, the 18 EV models by 2022, as they promised its shareholders back in 2017. But now it's pretty clear that they're not even going to deliver the 30 EV models they promised by 2025 either. GM is delaying the launch of several EV models to cut expenses, as Mary Barra said during this week's earnings call. The Chevy Bolt EV, for instance, is being relaunched using a lower-cost lithium-ion battery purchased from China, allowing GM to go to market 2 years faster, whatever that means. But funny to see GM saying now it is okay to buy batteries from China when they do it, but when Ford did it, it was a wrong thing to do, and GM even wanted to try to block it. What a bunch of hypocrites. And back in February 2022, Mary Barra said GM would deliver 400,000 EVs by the end of 2023. But as we can see, they have so far year-to-date delivered 56,500 EVs. So if they're lucky, they will get close to 70,000 EVs delivered in 2023. So they only missed their target they promised their investors by 82%. And it was less than 2 years ago she promised this to investors. How can an experienced automaker be this much off? They missed their target from 2 years ago by 330,000 units out of 400,000. Very embarrassing. But they did later say that the 400,000 would be from 2022 through mid-2024. But now they are even scrapping that plan. So GM said they would catch Tesla, but don't even think they can build 400,000 EVs over a 2-year period. Very embarrassing. GM blamed lower EV demand for its decision to curb its EV production goals. But they still say they're not delaying the Silverado because of demand of EVs. So very conflicting messages from GM. Is it because of EV demand or not, Mary? But GM has been a mess for many years for us who have been following this shit show. Firstly, they partnered up with Nikola and Trevor Milton, who has been fined $165 million for lying to investors, and they both showed up talking about how perfect this partnership was on CNBC, but less than 3 months later, GM backed out of the partnership again. Wonder why that was, Mary? Very embarrassing. But that was not the only suspicious partnership GM did, as they in 2019 partnered up with Lordstown Motors. Remember them? But in 2022, they dropped its investment in the company after Lordstown Motors was found guilty of cheating with pre-order numbers, and the Lordstown is no more. Very embarrassing. The lack of judgment at GM is staggering. No wonder the GM has been falling under Mary's leadership, both in sales but also 25% in market cap since she took over. You led, Mary, and it mattered. All the great partnership with Lordstown, Nikola, and Honda has fallen apart again. And GM has basically gone nowhere in a whole year. Look at the EV sales from 1 year ago. They increased their production and deliveries with 5,000 units in a year. Very embarrassing. And you can see their net revenue is basically flat. Their EBIT is basically flat. The EV sales are basically flat. The only thing that is growing is GM's inventory that grew more than 23% year over year. That's probably nothing. And we already know that GM told all of us their Ultium battery platform was the best battery on the planet, and pouch cells were the way to go. Even though Elon tried to warn GM and said nobody should use pouch cells, but GM had to learn it the hard way, recalling all of their Bolt EVs made in history last year. And now GM is even stopping further construction of their supposedly 4 battery factories in the US, as they will be switching to cylindrical cell. Now what do you know? So their superior battery technology was not so superior after all. As Sandy Munro has also shown us, their battery is not more energy dense. They are just making a bigger cell. So it's like saying your ICE vehicles is more efficient because it has a huge gas tank. It makes no sense. And now they are delaying their Ultium battery platform EVs even before they have got them to any kind of volume. Remember, about 16,000 of those 20,000 EVs they sold in Q3 was the Bolt. That is not on the Ultium platform. And now we won't see any big numbers before probably the end of 2025 on that EV platform that is already outdated and inferior to mostly anything else out there. Who is going to buy these outdated EVs in 2025 and 2026? I don't think this will help them with their EV demand problem. But if all of this was not enough, with all the misses from GM and broken promises and bad decisions, well, GM just lost the permits to do robotaxi drives in San Francisco. The California Department of Motor Vehicles, DMV, said in a statement this week, where there is an unreasonable risk to public safety, the DMV can immediately suspend or provoke permits. The department determines the manufacturer's vehicles are not safe for the public operations, and the manufacturer has misrepresented information related to safety of the autonomous technology of its vehicles. So that is not looking good for GM. And what worse is, when Cruise had a robotaxi that ran over a pedestrian, GM didn't give DMV all the footage, as the vehicle was not really in fault for the pedestrian being thrown into the front of the moving car, but after the accident, the Cruise vehicle decided to make a safety stop and therefore drove to the side of the street with the pedestrian under the car. Well, that last part GM left out of the footage to DMV. Now that does not look good for GM. Try to lie themselves out of this one, as they probably knew this would get them banned from the streets, as we have already seen so many accidents from Cruise already. Even though Dan O'Dawn said Cruise was so good and safe compared to Tesla's bad software, well, DMV does not agree, Dan. Cruise is now banned from driving in the streets of San Francisco. Not just as a robotaxi, not even test driving is allowed at the moment. This is a big setback for Cruise, as this is the only way they collect data, and now they are not allowed to do this in San Francisco anymore. This is just such a different approach compared to what Tesla is doing, where Tesla get paid from people that are buying their cars, and then they get paid even extra for getting access to the full self-driving software and agree that they will keep an eye on the car at all time. So Tesla right now has millions of cars collecting data for them, not just the 500,000 beta Tesla, but also every other car with shadow mode running in the background and much more. Tesla gets more data every single day than GM's Cruise has collected its entire existence. For people to even think there is a race for autonomous cars is kind of laughable at best, as no one else has the data that Tesla has. And if you understand how AI learns, you know data is the key, and Tesla is up and beyond anything else out there combined, and is the only one that is really going for a general solution. The rest is going for a mapped geofenced area. The one is scalable and the other is not. There really is no competition for Tesla's general AI solution for full self-driving cars, and Cruise just got punched in the face and is down for count. But at least Cruise lost $8 million per day just in Q3. That's also bad news, sorry. So guess only bad news for GM this week. Since 2016, GM has reported $8.4 billion in cumulative operating losses for Cruise. As GM did report their Q3 earnings call, but they did beat Wall Street expectation, but GM pulls full-year guidance due to mounting UAW strike cost that cost the automaker roughly $200 million a week in lost vehicle production. $200 million a week. While the short-term thinkers on Wall Street will probably be happy to see GM beat expectation, but the long-term thinkers will probably not like that they pull down their guidance and loses $200 million a week in vehicle production and lose $56 million a week on their Cruise venture that just crashed into the ditch. Not a good week for GM, as everything is crumbling down around them. All their partnerships are done. They are backing down from their promises of EV deliveries and models again. So like I said in a video a couple of years ago, I think there is a bigger chance that Tesla will deliver more units overall in 2025 than GM beating Tesla in EV sales in 2025. I don't believe Tesla will actually beat GM in 2025, but 2026 or 27 is a real possibility, but I'm just saying there is a bigger chance than Tesla will sell more units than GM outselling Tesla in EV units. And that has never been more clear than after this week. Mary led, and it mattered, because you are running GM into the ground, and now the UAW will make sure they are not competitive going forward. I really can't see GM getting out of this one, especially with the leaderships they have at the company. GM stock is down 25% since Mary Barra became CEO 10 years ago. But of course, she deserves all the $30 million in paycheck every year for the good work she has done. because there is a real good chance that in 2026, when GM will try to really ramp up EV production again, that the car market in the US is close to 30% BEV market share. Maybe that's optimistic, maybe not, but even 20% will make sure GM will continue to fall in unit sales, as they will be nowhere near that number in EV production. And the question is, at what point will GM's ICE business become so small that it no longer is a good business case for them? And the sound of them ditching the affordable EV with Honda and GM has been out saying that they will not be able to make a profitable EV in the $30,000 to $40,000 range this decade does not really sound like they have a profitable EV business this decade. So what will GM do when their profitable ICE business crashes over the next 4 to 6 years and they have no profitable EV business to take over? Yeah, I don't really see them coming out of this one. They have been desperate for many years with partnership like Nikola and Lordstown. So what will GM do now, other than continue to fall?
It's more than an aspiration. It's a plan that by 2030, all of our light-duty vehicles sold in the U.S. will be electric, and we're working to accelerate that plan. I can't speak for other automakers. I think in a lot of cases from a major automaker, we've set that path that others are now following, but we're full steam ahead. We're full EV ahead.
And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.